Well, hey guys, this is Brent with the Pewtercast. I am not here alone. I've got Ren, the man Dax, my co-host extraordinaire here with us, Ren. And it's time for us to do what we do best. Do a show, but we don't have a show.
Yeah, we're recording later than usual. We usually record on Tuesdays.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you had to go to the Jacksonville Jaguars game
On a Tuesday night, yeah. That's yeah.
You finally got to go?
Yeah, I finally got to go to the Jacksonville Jaguars. It was Bucks versus Jaguars playing right here in town. No. I had another commitment last night that prevented me from doing this. So here we are on Wednesday, and turns out, Ren, as far as talking about this Colts game, we're kind of done with it. Like we said everything. Yeah. We said everything we needed to say on the Instant Cast. There's nothing really new to say.
It's too late, man.
It is. It is. And it's just later in the week. So we're going to forego our final thoughts episode for this week. But we did have a lot of emails that came in this week. So we didn't want to just not put anything out there. So, Ren, what we're going to do is just skip the final thoughts episode. And we're going to put out here for the people. The inbox show, I guess, is what we're calling it these days. We got a couple of reviews. We got some emails. And so that's what we're going to give the people for this week.
The email show, the inbox show. Yeah,
which we've already recorded, and it was actually a good show. Like, there's lots of great conversation.
Shows are always good shows, Brent.
Every single one of them are. All right, let's get into it. This is the inbox for the Pewtercast for this week. Welcome back to the Pewtercast. Ren, it is that time of week again, man, where we get to turn the show over a little bit to our fellow fans. You and I have had our sort of final says, I guess, for this week on everything that has been happening. But, Ren, for now, we've got some iTunes reviews. We got some new ones that have come in over the course of this past week. We've got several emails to get through, so why don't we get into it?
All right, dope.
All right.
Do I sound different? I feel like I sound different. Are my levels okay?
Your levels are fine.
You sound different.
Do I sound different?
You sound very different.
Sound different. Well, I am testing out some new gear this week. Testing out, do what?
It looks like a very expensive microphone.
It is a very expensive microphone and a very expensive board. It's for those of you that are podcasters out there, it's the Rodecaster Pro combined with the Rode Procaster mic with the boom arm and all that kind of fun stuff. So we're testing it out. We're seeing if we like it, seeing if it might help us upgrade the show a little bit. So it should be fun.
Confused with the Roadmaster 3000
or the Toastmaster 2000.
What's the Toastmaster 2000?
Or the Terminator 2000. All right, let's see here. iTunes reviews. Let's do that. iTunes reviews. This one comes into us from, if I'm reading it right, Rhino Giles, I believe. It's a 5-star review. Says, new listener. Says, started listening to this podcast after that clown, the commish, got popped. Love the vibe and the actual Buck football these guys provide. Very refreshing takes, and around all that is Buccaneers football.
Dope. Are my levels okay?
You're fine, buddy.
Do I sound different?
No,
you sound different.
You're fine.
Yeah, thanks. I'm not sure. Everyone knows what happened to Justin, so I don't know if we did it feel like we gained a bunch of numbers.
I will say, that happened obviously over the course of the summer or spring. Yeah. Actually, I think it was. This has been a banner year for us, though. Here at the Pewtercast, like hand over fist. This has just been. I think we've probably grown. I don't think it's unfair to say that we've grown over 50% in our listenership this year.
Really?
So yeah, it's been pretty significant. So we've been very excited by the numbers and stuff this year. So I don't know how much of that really comes just because one other guy went away, as much as more people are listening to podcasts. You're getting real famous and stuff out there. So
I keep trying to tell Cheryl.
Right. I'm what I think it really might be is just our production quality.
Are you going to make me upgrade my mic? Is that what this is? Are you planting the seeds?
It's possible, but let me read this next review that comes in.
Okay.
For people that are calling for you, and then for me for production quality. This is a 3-star review.
3-star.
I know.
What's the name?
Well, from FHCUSJSK.
Is that a Twitter handle?
Somebody who didn't have the balls to actually put their name on the review is what it was.
That's not necessarily always true.
Right. But this is what it says. It says, clearly, Ren is the one that does the research on the team and is able to give the information that lots of Bucs fans are looking for. Here's my question, Ren. How much research do you actually do?
About as much studying I did in high school.
Right. Which was, and what grades did you receive in high school?
I made it through all 12.
There you go. You went through 12 years of high school. Most people only do 4.
Well, I'm a protege, as they say.
No,
I got B's and C's.
Yeah,
I never cracked a book in high school.
Right,
I never did. And there are a few things that I will if I'm trying to prove a point to somebody on Twitter, just to make sure, like, if I say something, you're like, you don't know what you're talking about, then I'll go back and like, I better make sure I do know what I'm talking about. But yeah, I really don't do a lot of research for the show. It's just kind of not that type of show.
Right. And the other thing about you, Ren, is you have this freaky good memory and recall and ability to pull stuff from your memory or from what you just saw, just out of the air.
Yes.
And I'm not saying you're making it up. I'm just saying you have like an amazing memory, and you'd be like, yeah, remember like 3 years ago when they were playing the Lions and it was a rainy Saturday and they lined up 3 wide out, and so and so was in the backfield and he snapped the ball, but the wind came in and a bird flapped its wings and he missed the snap. Like, everyone, where the hell are you pulling this from? Yeah, everybody remembers that, right? Exactly. It just you just have that, but certainly you bring that kind of stuff to the show. However, Brent doesn't really ever know what he's talking about.
That's at the end of the review.
No, he says you can really tell that he only focuses on the production. Overall, it's a good show, great guests, decent content.
Well, I mean, is he wrong?
No, that's why. Yeah, that's why I needed a co-host, because I don't know anything I'm talking about, I guess. But I can push a fader real well.
I mean, that's not true. I mean, I've been, let's be fair, I've been watching football and Buccaneers football probably 2 decades longer than you have.
That is true.
And I've been into it more seriously. I care about things like the draft. You don't. I care about sort of like when I see a good play, automatically my brain goes, my brain asks why it works. Was it the offensive line? Was it the quarterback? Was it the receiver? Were they just better? Was it the scheme? Like, and then I'm also, one of my other, I call them passive superpowers. Besides my, my quick memory recall is, I already forgot what it was. Obviously it's not long-term memory recall. It's being able to pick up patterns very quickly. Like, I see it once. Okay. I see it twice. Then my ears perk up. I see it a third time. And all of a sudden it's a pattern. And I don't even know if I'm really looking for it. So that's just the kind of the way I look at the game. And, you have a lot more on your plate, like doing, all the music, all the intro, all the cuts, all the times I say something stupid, you got to write it down, find it, cut it out, and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, and I've said this before, I don't know if I said it on Twitter or for another show, or maybe it was our show. We sort of fell into this. The style that it's become, where like you're the host and you move the show along, and you constantly just like, Ren, what do you think? Ren, what do you think? Ren, what do you think? So it's unfair to sort of put up against us as far as analysis, unless you're going to put also up against as far as like all the other things that the host does, which is moving the show along, getting 85% of the guests, and sort of the meat and potatoes. All I do is I show up, I talk about some stuff without doing any research, and then we jibber jabber a little bit before, a little bit after, and then I go to bed, and then I wake up the next day and the show's out.
And I'm just going to bed. No, and truthfully, on the other side of that is part of the reason why I brought you into the show was so that I mean, we talk about this with other guests. You can be like, so Jameis Winston, go, and then the person will just talk. Well, when we don't have a guest, that's you and me. Like I say, what do you think about this? Go. And quite honestly, I don't know that I often insert a bunch of stuff. I just bounce it off you and see what you think. Anyway, but to whoever is, Thanks for the review, I guess. But hey, listen, we always say send them in. We'll read them however they come.
3 stars on that review.
There you go. 3 stars for the review.
That's what I'm saying.
All right, we got one more. This says, now I like this one. Pewtercast fires the cannons. This is a 5-star review by Tim Bucks Fan 1990. Just started listening a month or 2 ago, and I really love how thorough you guys are.
All the research I do.
You comment on almost all the questions I have about my team. I'll be listening for a long time to come.
Thanks, Tim. And I think that's what we do best.
Yeah.
And what we've always done best.
Right.
Is both of us have a knack to really ask the questions and discuss just amongst ourselves, and sometimes with the guest, and sometimes we'll fire it out there on Twitter, or be lucky enough to actually see one of the beat reporters in person, or in training camp. When you get down there, you'll saunter up to Justin Watson and being like, "Hey, what do you got to do to be on the field this year?"
Right.
And he goes, "I got to get better at the deep ball," or Mike Evans gets hurt. One of the two. So I think, like I said, I think that's what we've always been good at is at least discussing amongst ourselves at the very minimum about, the questions that are sort of bothering and in the minds of our fellow fans.
Yeah, I agree. So, but thanks to you guys who sent those in. And if you guys would like to send us in some reviews, it would be a big help to us. Basically what you do when that happens is when people are looking for new podcasts. And I think, by the way, talking about so much growth in the podcast, and I've heard this is true among a lot of our fellow podcasters, that the growth just continues to happen. I think that's just more and more Tampa Bay fans are looking for a podcast as podcasting itself continues to grow. So
now that the mainstream media has gotten into it, like now everybody like when I first started with you, I still didn't really understand what a podcast was.
Right.
Like I knew that I could go somewhere with some app and find somebody talking about a subject that I knew, but I didn't understand like how would they do that? How are they making money? Like I didn't get anything about it, and now we are here like 3 or 4 years later. It is so mainstream now, and everyone, and it's funny. It's like everyone has one, and it's true. Everyone has one. You know why? Because it's really easy, and if you have any name at all, it's like being, sort of like being the if you were famous for a little bit, or you're the kid of someone famous, just start a YouTube channel, and you're gonna get all these subscribers because you know why? It's name recognition.
Right.
No one cares what you have to say. Like
right.
You're 17. Like you know nothing about anything, but you can make money because it's super easy. You just turn your computer on and scribble a few notes or do makeup tips or movie reviews or whatever. And if you're entertaining and you got good chemistry, it's just going to continue to grow and grow and grow.
I just wish we figured out how to make money.
Well, we know how to make money. We're being very stubborn about it.
Because to be clear to those of you out there, neither Ren or I are retiring off of this.
Oh no!
Or paying a bill. Actually, not even the bills, just one.
No, not at all.
But we do this because of our fandom, to be quite honest. So, but yeah, so you guys want to do that? It helps those people that are looking for podcasts when they say, "Hey, what's a good Buccaneers podcast?" It just puts us up higher in that in that search engine. So you guys go over there. The best way to do it, go over to Apple Podcasts. iTunes is no longer a thing. Apple Podcasts, search for the Pewtercast. Leave us a rating. Leave us a review. We will read it on a future episode. We always prefer the 5-star kind, but we'll read whatever you sit in, good, bad, or indifferent. So thank you once again to those of you guys who have done that. You guys are awesome. Ren, we got some emails. Why don't we go ahead and jump into those?
Okay.
All right. Our first one's a little bit of a correction. I think this might be a correction
on you.
Okay? Your levels are here, let me fix them for you. Okay.
Boop, beep, beep, boop, boop,
Ask me if I actually touched anything.
I know you didn't touch anything.
That's, as a sound guy, it's one of my favorite things. People will call back and be like, "Hey, can you fix this in my ears?" Or, "Hey, this doesn't sound right." "Yeah, let me fix it for you." And you just wave your hand over the board and they're like, "That's great. Sounds good." You got it. You're fine. So, but anyway, this one comes in to us from Larry. Larry says, "Hey guys, love the podcast. Just slight correction. Raheem Morris actually went 3-13 his first year, 10-6 his second year. Just letting you guys know. Laugh out loud. Keep up the good work. By the way, he thinks it's time to move on from Jameis, in my opinion. Take care."
Remember when Grieg from Scotland used to send us an emails and give me crap for stuff I would get wrong?
Yeah, Greg, I miss you. Please continue to send those back in.
stuff that I would get wrong. I'd pull stuff out, like, talking about like the Sam Weiss era or something. And then he'd send an email and be like, "You buffoon, you're so stupid." Every Buck fan knows, and I'm like, yo, man, we do this cold. Like, I don't get to know these questions beforehand.
Right.
Like, Grieg. So that feels like a Grieg email, but he LOL'd, and I have no idea what he's talking about. I'm assuming that I said Raheem went 10-6 his first year.
Yeah, you said that. I want to say it was actually last pod, or maybe like the Buck in the News show that we did with James. So yeah.
So thanks, Tim. Is it Tim?
No, this is Larry. Tim was the last.
Sorry, Tim. You're cool. Larry, you're cool too.
You're cool. Keep sending these in, because it's one of those. I mean, Ren, I know I've said to you, and I say it tongue in cheek, and I say it jokingly, but like, if I can ever just let you be wrong, it makes me so happy.
Oh yeah, you don't think my whole life has been like that? Welcome to the microcosm of my life.
Just because you're right so often, it's like,
yeah, I know. I'm sorry. I learned not to say stuff that's untrue from when I was a little kid.
Right.
If I don't know what I'm talking about, you know what? I don't fucking say anything. Excuse me. I'm so happy that you think it's okay, or that you go through your life just making stuff up, talking to people.
That's why we have podcasts.
Yeah. Might as well call me like Michael Clayton on freaking 620.
Oh, zing!
Zing!
Hey, I could put that in like a sound effect with this new machine. Zing!
Oh yeah. Oh, can we start doing that with like Baruga horns and stuff? Baruga.
I can do something with it.
Burn. I wish Baby Yoda would talk. We could drop a Baby Yoda song.
Look, I could do this one. I could go.
There you go. That's classic.
Or this one. Here you go.
Oh, the rim shot?
Yeah, just the old rim shot. Yeah.
Yeah. Classic.
Yeah. We got sound effects here at the Pewtercast now.
All of a sudden we turn into Benny Hill.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. Hey, by the way, just since Larry brought it up here about Jameis and moving on from Jameis, you and I have had a little discussion off air.
We're going to address it?
Yeah, let's address it right now.
Okay. And this is we're just going to do it in silence.
No. This is not directed to you.
Make a royal decree and not tell everybody.
Specifically, Larry. This is just to everyone, but you brought it up.
Since you've hurt my feelings, Larry, this is what's going to happen.
This is directed at... No, it's not. All right, here's the deal. Ren, you have made your feelings about what the team should do with Jameis Winston,
or I want them to do,
or what you want them to do.
Yes,
very, very clear.
Yes,
right.
Correct.
We've picked sides. I made mine very, very clear on the Instant Cast.
Did you?
I did. And you actually went like live on YouTube with Evan Winter from over at Bucks Nation.
Right.
And you guys had it out. That was
more about Drew Brees and how he was falsely saying stuff about me on Twitter.
Okay, cool. But anyway, my point being,
which was a fun discussion, by the way.
It was. You guys should have to go check it out. YouTube.com/the Pewtercast.
Excuse the audio, the production value, because it's terrible. Because Brett wasn't there. Like, I don't even think you could hear me through the headset. Like, I went and listened to it a little bit today, and I think all of it was coming through the video from my
that is I noticed that. I sent you like a message, but I don't know if you ever got it.
I saw it, but I didn't know how to fix it.
Yeah.
I knew that Evan was really low and I was really high, but I didn't know how to fix it.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't. Anyway, but here's what we've decided, right? Because we've talked about this all year long, and all of Buck's social media continues to talk about it. And the whole idea of should you keep Jameis, lose Jameis, everybody's got their opinion. The goods, people that want to talk about the good stuff are right. Now. Exactly. People that talk about the good stuff are right. People that talk about the bad stuff are mostly right as well. So we're going to put a moratorium on anything really having to do with Jameis Winston and contract talk.
I don't know what that means.
Basically, we're not going to talk about it until until there's something to talk about. Because the team has said we're not doing anything with it until the end of the year. So unless they surprise us and do something earlier, which they probably won't, or they just won't, we're just not going to talk about it until there's actually something to talk about. Because there's no furthering that conversation, and everybody's already discussed it. So
there's no new message. There's no new information. There's no new. It doesn't. I don't even care if Jameis throws 4 interceptions in the next 3 games. It's still up to one person.
Right.
It's not. It doesn't matter what you think. I think. Larry thinks. Tim thinks. Stupid kicky booty guy thinks. It doesn't matter. The only person that matters, and it really is the only person who opinions matters on Jameis Winston as a future NFL quarterback with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, is Bruce Arians. And like you said, he's not going to say anything till after the season. And I want somebody, as soon as that first press conference after the Atlanta game, I need somebody at Ray J. So, have you made a decision on Jameis yet?
Season's
over. Season's over.
Yeah.
You said the season's over.
Here it is. It'll be that exit presser, that next day. So, now that doesn't mean we're not going to talk about Jameis, and we're not going to talk about his play, and we're not going to talk about the good things. We're not going to talk about the bad things. It doesn't mean that at all. It just means when it comes to whether or not to keep him, shuttle him off, contract stuff, we're just not going to talk. So, that's our decree. That's our
But if you
mantra.
were going to talk about it, what would you do?
Well, we've already declared the moratorium, so it is officially in effect. All right. Next email comes into us from Catherine. Larry, by the way, thank you for your email. Please keep sending those in, especially corrections for Ren. Catherine writes in, number one, and here she's talking about Jameis. Call me crazy, but I'm starting to not be bothered by Jameis's interceptions. How do y'all feel?
Well, that's because he threw 2 early against Atlanta, got in the hole in 1, and then he threw 3 in the game, and we had 3 turnovers in the first half and barely dug out of that in 1. But they won, and that's why it's not. Plus, he's had good games, sort of at the turning point of the season. He just went on. So I think he's 7 out of 8 now, 300 yards passing. Sent the record, and I honestly think just throwing the football, as a thrower. As what he's seeing, understanding, knowing I think he's playing his best football. As far as not fumbling, getting out of sacks, making positive yards out of nothing, knowing when to run it, and now he's throwing interceptions. The interceptions that he does throw, I should say, it's not that he's running around and trying to make something happen. It's a bad read.
Right.
It's like, oops, I didn't see that guy, or I didn't throw that one high enough. It's not like he didn't see Darius Leonard the first time. He definitely didn't see him the second time. That was just a great play.
Right.
The second one. It really was. He even rushed the quarterback for a bit. He engaged the center as the nose tackle and then dropped out back. right where Jameis was throwing. It was a fantastic play by Darius Leonard. The first one should have thrown higher.
Sure.
But so what I'm saying is that these sort of boneheaded, what in the hell are you doing aren't really there anymore. It's just oh man, that was a bad throw. You can see the logic where it's just not come on, I don't play NFL quarterback. If I was in there, I know not to do that. That's like little leagues. Don't put your finger in the socket. That's those kind of interceptions he was throwing. So plus add on top of that again with him being able to, pull himself out of these fires or dig himself out of these holes that he's dug pretty much himself 2 of these past 3 games. Yeah. You're okay, winning cures all. You care about his interceptions? No. Why? Because we're winning.
And I think that's it right there. I mean, think about it. The team has only lost 1 game since the midpoint of the season.
Yeah.
Right. So, what is that? We're 4-1 now since the midpoint of the season. So,
yes.
And that 1 game was a really bad game that they lost, but they've been able to pull it out. And that's the thing that we've been saying for a while now. This offense has what it takes to overcome any mistake that Jameis Winston makes.
Right.
Be it an interception, be it a fumble. They're still going to put up 300, 400 yards, 500 yards. They're still probably going to put 28 points or better on the board. 30 points or better. Right. It's not like they're unable to overcome those. We've said for years, Ren, and we're not going to change this tune. The main problem on this team has not been on the offense. It's been on the defense.
Right.
The number of times, and I don't know exactly what it is, but the number of times that Jameis has, you probably know this, you can just remember.
Sure.
That he's handed the defense a lead at the end of the game and they went and lost it.
109.
There you go. Which is pretty amazing considering Jameis has only played 68 games. But, that's how often it happens. Jameis doesn't have to score the same touchdown 3 times, and all those things. So, you're not bothered by it because the team's winning, and the truth is the team can overcome, and it's not they're overcoming it in spite of Jameis. That's Jameis leading them to overcome it.
Yes.
So, that's a big part of it, too. So, defense isn't just bailing them out. It's just the defense is showing up.
And all those other things, the offense included, I would say the red zone offense included, have kind of gone away. We don't care. We don't complain about the kicking anymore. We definitely don't care about the red zone offense anymore. We don't care about Jameis. No one complains about Jameis fumbling anymore because he rarely does. No one complains about his pocket awareness anymore because it's greatly improved. It still needs some work. It's not Tom Brady-esque,
right.
But it's greatly improved to what it even was last year. So you're adding all these things in. The only thing left is turnovers. And you're looking at this guy throw he can throw 300 yards standing on his head, and I think
with a broken thumb.
With a broken thumb. some. And some of these things that I talked about a couple of years ago, last year especially, these last few games are really starting to come to fruition for me, at least, is that when Jameis can drop back 5-7, put his foot in the ground and fire the ball on a rope, he's as good as anybody. But when he had to sort of put air into the ball and drop it in the bucket, that's when his percentages went down. With, by the way, this year Deshaun Jackson goes away. Him and Mike Evans get a little better. Now, remember we used to talk about how it took a full year for him and for Jameis and anybody to get on the same page. It looks like he's done that with Rashad Perriman. Jameis has now thrown half a year. Yeah, see, it's improving. Yeah, he's had a year and a half with J Watt, or a year and 3/4 now with J Watt. That looked like it paid off Sunday. So all the things that you're always like, you were watching him from year one, day one. Oh, he's a rookie, he'll improve. Oh, he's a rookie, he'll improve. Now we're in year 5, and it has. Yeah, everything has improved. Yes, the interceptions are they're there, and I'm not even going to get to the point where I'm going to stake my quote unquote reputation, but I'm not going to say that it's ever going to get better, because I don't know if it is. I hope it is. I think it is, but I can't say it out loud because it might not be. It's equal. It's 50-50. He may stay the same pick at quarterback, throwing 17, 16, 23 interceptions a year, or he may turn into a guy that throws between 9 and 12 every year. Either one's possible because he has the talent and the football smarts to do it. So I'm just happy with his overall progression. Like I said at the beginning of this long rant, I think he's throwing the ball better than he ever has.
Yeah, and that's why you're not as bothered by the interceptions. All right, number 2. There's fun questions. Moving on. I know you guys are obviously still diehard Bucs fans, but is it somewhat surreal being able to speak to people from the Pewter Report and other people in the media actually knowing you guys?
It was really cool at first. I will. But I also will say, and I hope you have a little bit different answer, Brent, but I also say I'm this type of person that gets over things very quickly. Like want it, get it, learn all about it, like absorb everything in, look around and go, okay, what's next? Like that's just the type of personality I have. So, but it was, I'm not exactly, people just use surreal all the time. I'm not even really sure what the definition is. I can use it in context, so I'm going to use some different words. It's really cool. It was satisfying. It made me feel validated as sort of somebody who feels that they're have something to say about the Buccaneers, of getting to know these guys, talking to them, and then basically like making them think about your questions or having a good conversation back and forth where you can tell, like you can hear them talking, like like Mark Cook will be talking to somebody at a bowling event and he's just sort of appeasing the person. Like the person will talk for 3-4 minutes and he go, "Yep, you got it all figured out." Instead of an actual back and forth sort of like conversation. And so it is surreal, I guess. I don't really, like I said, I don't know what that means so much, but it was something that I wanted badly as a Bucs fan, and through meeting Brent, working together, we made it happen.
Yeah, I remember the first training camp that I got to go to, maybe even the second one, but definitely the first one, and getting to go, that's Scott Reynolds. Oh, that's like Roy Cummings, like he was still doing a bunch of stuff back then. Or like who are the Joes? Who is? Oh, that's them. Okay, cool. Oh, look, there's Rick Stroud. That's Rick Stroud. Oh, look, that's Greg Allman. Oh, look, that's Jenna Lane. Like, because these guys are somewhat celebrity.
To us, they are.
Yeah, yeah, and I think to a lot of Bucs people, because their names are certainly attached and what they have there. So, but so many of these people have become. Some of them have first of all become friends, and I feel very comfortable saying that. Some of them have become.
I think I know you're trying to go with this.
Like I want to say colleagues, but that's not the right word.
Was the word. Yeah. That's too strong.
Yeah, it's way too strong. Yeah. But they are.
They respect what we do.
Yeah, exactly.
So whatever category you want to put it in, they understand that what we do, we're good at it.
Right. And then there's others who just don't, and that's okay too. Like, fine, I don't care. And they're not often on the show. Because sometimes we, even if we were to ask them, they wouldn't come, but that's okay. But we don't ask a whole lot. So, but yeah, it is. There's a different thing though when you're in the middle of it and you've been in it for a little bit, to be able to do that. So, yeah, it definitely was surreal at first, and we've just because like we've been in the media room, like we've just kind of gotten to know them. So,
yeah, like if you've ever been to your first NFL game, and you walk out of the tunnel and you see the field for the first time and how green it is and how much the colors pop, and you see your team down there warming up and you see the other team down there warming up, and because when you watch it on TV, you're seeing the same thing, but it's a very microscopic view. Like if you're watching the same thing the TV's watching, but you're also watching such a bigger area, like you could see the whole field without having to turn your head. You really can. You can see what's going on all the time. So having that feeling when you walk out there, you're like, wow. You're like, holy cow. And the music is playing, and maybe you see Casey and Scott up on the board, and you're like, oh, this is way different than like I could imagined it. But guess what? By game 6, you don't even notice it.
Right.
When you walk out there.
Some things become annoying to you. Yeah.
No, we're going to have DJ What's-His-Face play for the next 45 minutes.
Right. Good luck talking. Anyway. So yeah, so that's a great question. Like I love getting kind of questions like that. So thanks, Catherine. All right, next email.
I always like to get questions where I get to talk about myself.
Yes, there you go. Should we go back to that? No, never mind. Next email comes in from Alex.
Levels okay?
Yeah, your levels are great. Here, let me adjust something for you. Alex says,
perfect, thank you.
Congrats to Jameis Winston for passing the franchise record for most passing yards in a season. A record he already held, I might add.
Oh, did he?
I was wondering about, because like they made a big deal about it in the stadium when it happened.
Oh, did they?
Jameis Winston has now passed, set the franchise record for most passing yards. And my thought in that moment was, didn't he do that last year? Like, did he just pass himself? Is that what happened? Anyway, he goes on. He says, we all know about Shaq Barrett's chase for the most sacks in Buccaneers season. Hey, by the way, he is 1 sack away from matching it, a sack and a half away from passing.
Or a sack and a quarter.
If they give those out, yeah, sure. Sack and an eighth, actually. Could
there you
be.
go. Sack and an eighth.
Yes, but a sack and a 16th won't get it.
No, it will not. No. That doesn't, yeah. For some reason, when it goes to a 16th, when all 16 guys tackle the quarterback at the same time.
Yeah, it just doesn't.
They don't round up.
Yeah, exactly. It just, math doesn't work on that. Math's hard. And he says, but I thought I might add a few more records that both Chris Godwin and Jameis Winston are looking to break, just in case you're interested.
Do I get to chime in if I am or not?
I was going to say, I didn't know that I was interested in these until he wrote them down. So, why don't you wait until the end and then tell me if you're now interested?
That's fair.
Chris Godwin needs 26 more receptions to pass Keyshawn Johnson for most in a season, 313 more receiving yards to pass Mike Evans for the most in a season, and 4 more touchdowns to pass Mike Evans for most in a season, which might happen.
Those are all obtainable.
Yeah.
They are. In 3 games, that's like, how many receptions? 26?
26 receptions to pass Keyshawn Johnson, yeah. So and 313 more to pass Mike Evans for most in a season. Mike Evans is out for the rest of the season as we record this. So,
so that's what, 8? About 8 a game in receptions, and then, just obviously like 100 and what?
Give him 9.
Yards.
Give him 9 a game. That'll get it.
But that's a lot. That is a lot. I mean, that's going to be pushing it.
Yeah.
And then like basically 105 yards a game, which of course will become easier if he has a game like he did a couple of weeks ago, where he put up 178, 190 yards. Then all of a sudden it's like
2 games in 1 right there. Yeah. But without Mike Evans though,
it's going to be tough. Is he going to get more throws or is he not going to get more throws?
Right.
Because Jameis has, finally decided this year, and this is what I like about it. Sort of going back to the previous question, is he's recognizing the double teams. Like remember we were pulling our hair out at the beginning of the season, like, where's Mike Evans? Where are Mike Evans? It's because they were double teaming Mike Evans. And as soon as they didn't and started playing man, what happened? Mike Evans went off, and so if they do that to Chris, it's going to be the J. Watt, Scotty Miller hopefully comes back this year, and Perryman show.
And quite honestly, without Mike Evans on the field, it's highly likely that they will be to Chris. They already were with Mike Evans on the field. So, but 4 more touchdowns. I mean, it is not the idea that Chris Godwin could have 1 touchdown in each of the next 3 games and one of them have 2. That's not out of the realm of possibility either.
No, especially with his, I know tenacity, but Chris Godwin makes you tackle him. There are very few wide receivers in the league that make you tackle them. he gets a lot of yak because of it.
It's an interesting thing to become a wide receiver, become the best wide receiver on the team, and start setting the records. It's another thing to become the wide receiver who's setting records while that same guy is still on the team.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll see what happens. All right, Jameis Winston, he says, needs 59 more passing attempts to pass Brad Johnson for most in the season. I think I'll absolutely hit that. 41. I don't know that that's really a stat though. He's had more passing attempts.
It's not a record,
Right.
Like, he says, you've taken more steps than anyone alive. Well, I'm 107. So
right. 41 more completions to pass Brad Johnson for most in a season. He'll get that in 2 games, I bet.
Okay.
He will have completed, the most 3 more passing touchdowns to pass himself for most in the season, break his own record again, and 6 more sacks to pass Trent Dilfer and Steve Young for the most times sacked in a season.
So he could actually, God, I wonder, is he leading the league in sacks? So he could go, like, because people were talking about the trifecta, but he could do, like, what's the quad? It's not the quinella, the double quinella? I don't know. So, but he could go he's only like 7 yards behind Dak for leading the league in passing yards.
Right.
And now he's like 4 behind Lamar Jackson for touchdowns thrown. He's leading the league in interceptions and will not be caught. But I think he's up there in sacks taken too. So he could be sacked the most, throw the most picks, throw the most touchdowns, and throw for the most yards. And then that's why everyone goes, so you sign him? I don't know. Oops, I didn't say that.
Right. Right. Alex goes, he says, Mike Evans was also in the hunt for receiving yards, but due to the injury, I do think he'll be out for 1 to 3 weeks, even if it's minor. Honestly, with the news that we are eliminated from playoffs, I think it's best we let him sit for the next 3 games. Good news, Alex. They already are.
Yes, and I agree with you, too.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see Mike sit. Well, I'm not excited to see Mike sit. That's stupid. I'm excited to see these other guys sort of get their timing up with Jameis Winston, because once he gets it with you, it doesn't go away.
I remember seeing a few people saying that really hurts Mike's chances for making a Pro Bowl this year.
I don't want Mike to go to the Pro Bowl if he has a hamstring.
No, but to be elected and then he can sit out. He might not. I don't know how that works, but it is still nice to have him elected, and put in there. I would at least like to see that, but I don't want him to go out there and do anything weird and strain it, because I don't want to go there. But I don't want to see him go out and do anything. But I do want him invite him to the party, even if he can't go. That's all.
You're going to be where are you going to be? You're going to be in Istanbul? Well, here's an invitation to my dinner party.
Yeah. Sorry you can't come.
Sorry you can't come.
Anyway, but what I was going to make a point was, even if it does hurt his chances to go to the Pro Bowl, I don't think it should. Like, his stats and his play stand regardless if he's hurt these last 3 games. So
that's true, and I'm kind of one of those people that if he misses it, I'm okay with it, because he's going to end up missing 3 games, and if his stats don't match up just because he missed those 3 games, well, I'm sorry. What if you missed the first 3 weeks and then his stats don't match up? No one's complaining about that. You kind of forget that he missed those weeks, or missed week 1 and week 4 and week 9.
Right.
Like, no one cares about that. So, I'm all right if he doesn't get it this year, especially, and I think he deserves it as a Bucs fan, but I don't really know where everyone else is either. We talked about this, God, it feels like 2-3 weeks ago. Like, you got Julio Jones, and you got, I guess Thielen's been hurt, but then you got Diggs, and you got Thomas from New Orleans, and there's guys, just the NFC South. The NFC is a very crowded wide receiver room, so missing some amount of times is really going to hurt his chances. And if he doesn't make it, I'm okay with it.
Fair enough.
I know who's really number 1.
There you go. It's always number 1 in our hearts. All right, he says, I do have a question. A month ago, I was pounding the table for a veteran free agent corner to come in this offseason, but in the last 4 games, our defensive backs have shown significant improvement. In the first 9 games, we gave up about 299 passing yards and 31 points per game. In the last 4, we're only giving up 234 yards and 25.5 points per game, so full touchdown less. Those numbers put the defense in the middle area of those 2 categories, but it's better than being the league's worst. With all that being said, I'm beginning to second guess my opinion about bringing in a veteran corner. What if we bring in a guy who turns out to be another Brent Grimes or VH3? The current squad seems to be progressing dramatically, and I'd hate to bring in somebody who could change the current mentality of that core for the worse. I don't want to draft a guy, but at the moment, I think it's better to use the money it would take to get a veteran corner to help us bring back our 4 defensive free agents.
You still want a veteran corner, and I'm telling you why. You're just thinking of it wrong. What we need now is a veteran corner that can play, but it's not good enough to beat those. That's not good enough for those three. Because when we saw who went down 2 weeks ago, and Brian Smith had to come in.
It
was Dean.
Dean.
Yeah.
Dean, well, I was going to say Dean went down. I mean, MJ Stewart's been out for the last bunch of weeks, although he's not top of that list either. But
we
MJ
saw
Stewart's been hurt,
after they jettisoned Hargraves, we saw that the depth behind SMB, Davis, and Dean, DD, and SMB was not good. So we need that presence. But I'm thinking instead of more of like a starting corner to get in there to give these guys a veteran presence, I'm thinking more of an Andrew Adams type in the safety position.
Right.
A guy who's been around the league. He's good enough to be on your team. He's not going to be bitching he's not starting. But if one of these guys go down, he can fill in and he's not going to be a sieve.
You want like a Kevin Minter of cornerbacks.
Oh, if there's a Kevin Minter out there that as good as Kevin Minter plays linebacker, that can play corner, he'd be starting in the NFL. I'm just that's how good of a job Kevin Minter did. I like where you're going. I understand your analogy, but me and linebackers and wide receivers, like they're all over the place because you're just a tweener that can run and tackle people.
You're super athletic with not much skill.
Yeah, right. You're not fast enough.
Not much skill. You're in the NFL though. These guys have skill. Don't get me wrong.
You're not fast enough to keep up with the wide receivers. You're not big enough to beat offensive linemen. So you're a linebacker.
Right.
And those guys are everywhere. Yeah. Because Kevin Minter was having an all-pro season, or I should say Pro Bowl season, and now he's sitting the bench. But yes, I understand your analogy. I feel more comfortable saying an Andrew Adams of the cornerback room. And then you have your guy that can step in when one of these rookies, cross your fingers, does go down, next year for a couple plays or a game or two, that can step in and it is not a Ryan Smith, is not a sieve. So that's where I think your thinking is still good about bringing in a veteran corner, just got to adjust it from, I want to spend a lot of money in free agency to go get like a number 1 or number 2 outside cornerback.
Fair enough. All right, Alex finishes up. He says, not to be confused. Oh, my God. He says, please don't confuse me with Alex from Jacksonville. Shout out to him, though. Sorry, that was in the middle of something else. He says, what's up with Gerald Hawkins? Is he hurt? Why am I watching Josh Wells clear paths for the opposing team's defensive players and not seeing this guy that we traded for specifically to back up the blind side?
I think they needed a tackle, and they needed one badly because it was beginning of the season, and they did not like who they had, and they just had to give up a 6th-round pick to get him. And he's not that good, so he's not in there.
Yeah, I think and they got him before they got Josh Wells. So they got him and still said, we need somebody else.
We need someone desperately. Who do you like best? This guy.
Right.
Okay.
I mean, Gerald Hawkins is still one of the top 9,
He's an offensive lineman in the NFL.
Yeah, he's on the active roster, but they just brought in Josh Wells.
90% of the guys in college right now, maybe 95.
Right. But to that being said, I mean, when Donovan Smith went down in the game this last week, was it Wells that came in?
Yeah.
And Jameis got hit twice and sacked once in like the 4 plays that Donovan was out.
And broke his hand. No, he didn't.
Was it in that play? In that set?
No.
Yeah.
Well, we can start that narrative if you want.
Oh, let's do it.
No.
It's all his fault. It's the Cole Gunner.
Josh Wells.
There you go.
But did we give a shout out to old Griff?
Huh?
On the Instacast?
I
feel like we didn't.
No,
All right, well, there it is. There's your shout out, Ryan.
There you go.
It was much more fun to talk about you not playing than it is that you did play.
Hey, Ryan Griffin got in the game finally. All right. 4 plays.
Pick up a first down, and then him and somebody misread the route. He threw it out. Godwin went in, or Godwin went out, and he threw it out, or whatever.
Did you hear what BA said he was doing with Jameis on the sideline while Griffin was in playing?
He was trying. He went up to talk to him.
Yeah.
Because I saw it. They showed it on TV.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, and I mean they weren't showing that what he was doing, but now that in context of hearing BA say it, yeah. So Jameis was like messing with the football, and there was a trainer next to him when they were discussing it, and then they showed a couple plays of Ryan Griffin, and they go back, and BA's like almost belly to chest or belly to belly, I guess, because just that's the way BA's shaped, and he's looking at Jameis right in the eye. You could just see him swiping at he went.
By that you mean Jameis's belly to Bruce's chest? That's not a fat joke.
Sure.
That's
yeah. Yeah, so BA's, BA and Jameis are locked eye to eye, but then you could see BA like making swipes at the ball to try to knock it out of his hand with an unsuspecting Jameis. So he went over there not to have it, have any wise words or to see how he felt. He just went over there to see if his old ass could knock the ball out of his hand, because if he could, then he wasn't going in.
Right. So I love that. By the way. All right, next email comes into us from Johnny. Johnny says, "Hey, Brent and Ren. As strange as the win felt on Sunday, I certainly loved seeing the Bucs keep fighting and snatch a win away from the playoff hopeful team. After listening to the Instant Cast, I wanted to write in for the shows coming later in the week and provide some food for thought. I was going to start on something to say about Jameis, but then I got to writing and I realized there's not much to say that hasn't been said about him before." Thank you.
Nice.
So...
Who's this?
This guy's name is Johnny. We like Johnny.
Johnny's
got a picture of himself with a guitar. Anyway, he says, "I will say that I don't think many people have talked about this angle, though. Jameis isn't going to refuse any deal that the Bucs put to him. I doubt there's a team in the league that would want to pick up Jameis as their new starter, and he wouldn't want to be a backup, in my opinion. In other words, nobody's going to outbid the Bucs for Jameis. The only way he's not returning to Tampa is if the Bucs offer him nothing and let him go in free agency, in my humble opinion. Not talking about the contract, we have put the moratorium on that. However, I do want to ask you this question because I think it's at least worth saying, because I think I disagree with Johnny here.
I completely disagree with Johnny. I understand
just to be clear what we're saying we're disagreeing with. The idea that another team is not going to want Jameis as their starter.
And that they all have to do is offer him money, and that Jameis doesn't want – what was the first thing you said? Something about Jameis doesn't want big money or –
No, he said he's not going to refuse any deal the Bucs put in front of him.
Really? Okay.
Okay, maybe I should, just for Johnny's sake, because I think I know they're not going to, let's add the word reasonable. He's not going to refuse any reasonable deal that the Bucs put in front of him. I
still disagree with that. And because Jameis might be really Jameis might be in the, because this is what you got to think about. And it's sort of unfair, but this is the way the NFL works at certain levels. If Jameis has pressure from the NFLPA, the Players Association, to try to get as much money as possible to set up the guys behind him. Right. That is definitely a thing. So if Jameis gets a hometown discount or feels that somehow he doesn't deserve this, something like $32 million, which is going to be sort of the new tops for a franchise quarterback, and he takes something like $22 million a year, for if the Bucs come to Jameis and go, "I'll give you $45 million for 2 years," he's going to say no, because it's way below market value. To us, it sounds great, and that still might even put him in the top 5 of quarterbacks,
right? But
it's not a long-term deal, and he wants some type of security. So, and then, okay, Tom Brady might be on the market. We'll just say that he is, because as of now, he's a free agent. As of now, Philip Rivers is a free agent. As of now, Drew Brees is a free agent. As of now, Cam Newton's a free agent. Who are you signing to a long-term deal in front of Jameis Winston? I'm not signing any of those guys.
Right.
If I'm 1 or 2 years away, if I just want to try to, I got the team, I got the defense, I got some pieces, I'll go get Brady and Brees, and then 2 years later and try to put it all back together. Look what happened to Denver. So I'm taking Jameis over those guys. I put it out in the tweet which started the whole Evan Winter thing in the first place. It's it's Aaron Rodgers.
But let me bring this back. Okay,
yeah.
Let me bring this back. Yeah, because you're getting there. And we've already said all of those things. The point being, Jameis could refuse a deal that the Bucs put to him.
Yes.
I as long as it's and I always say, okay, maybe even reasonable is too soft of a word. Fair market value for Jameis. Whatever that actually means.
It depends on the years, man.
So fair, that's what I'm talking about. Fair market, whatever that is, years, money, all of that included, Jameis will probably return. I could maybe give you that. I don't want to quibble on that one. The idea really is that there is a team in the league that would want to pick Jameis up as their new starter. And I'm sitting here going, are you kidding me? The Broncos would take him. The Dolphins would take him. Jacksonville would take him. Well, yeah, Jacksonville would probably take him, although they still have to pay. I mean, they just guaranteed Foles all that money. I don't know that they could afford him right now.
Right,
even if they wanted. But if that wasn't part of the deal, yeah, they would take him. I think there's a. I just disagree with you on that, Johnny. I think
the
there's
Jets
a lot
might
that
take
would.
him, even
right. But I do agree with him that Jameis isn't going to want to go be a backup anywhere.
Chargers would take him.
Probably.
Raiders would take him.
Yeah. Oh, jeez. yeah. Would John? Can you imagine John Gruden with Jameis Winston?
I think it'd be a match made in heaven.
Oh man, that'd be something. I
think it'd be so great.
But is anybody going to outbid the Bucs for Jameis' services?
No.
Here's
because if they do, they'll just franchise tag him.
Right. And my prediction, quite honestly, is that this will be buttoned up before free agency. agency actually hits, whether it's a franchise tag or whether it's a new contract. Like, Jameis isn't going to hit the free agency market. Like, he's not going to test it. I just don't think that's what's going to happen. Anyway, he says, other guys that I want to mention are Perryman and Barber. I like both of these guys. In an ideal situation, they would both return next year, but I think that the Bucs might be able to use one or both of these guys as a bargaining chip for draft picks. I think the team might be able to get some value for them, maybe even a second round pick on a good day.
Oh my God.
No, Johnny.
Dude,
no.
Johnny, I love your
optimism.
Delusionalism.
No, optimism. Optimism is the word, Ren. Yeah, not a second round pick.
Yeah,
for either one of them. What? Maybe a fifth round, sixth round, somewhere around
we
there.
Just traded Deshaun Jackson for a seventh. Deshaun Jackson.
Yeah, but we were trying to let him. Like, we would have let him walk. And
when you're trying to trade Perryman, like, you think somebody's going to call up and go, "Hey, we want Perryman. Take our second round draft pick."
Yeah, no, and definitely not Barber. I mean, Barber's just not had that kind of a season.
Yeah, and really, what the biggest part is, they both play positions where they're dime a dozen positions. You know, besides wide receiver and linebacker, I just talked about, the next one in that list is running back.
Sure. But he goes on to say, if I had to predict one of them returns next year, I bet it would be Barber. BA seems to like having multiple starting caliber running backs, and the Barber Rojo has been a nice competition that helps the team.
He pulls out of the dive a little bit there.
Yeah.
He didn't crash into the aircraft carrier deck. He pulled up a little bit.
Caught the hook.
He caught the hook. Yeah. Johnny Quarter Mile.
But I mean, no. Let's talk about both of these guys potentially coming back next year.
Sure.
I mean, with Perryman right now, and as it seems he's caught on with Jameis. Let's assume Jameis is back next year. Okay.
Yep.
I can't imagine Perryman's going to command much more than what he did this year, if he even commands what he did this year.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So he's still relatively cheap. I'm not gonna say he's super cheap, but he's relatively cheap. Barber, I don't think is going to command a big ton of money. So let's say they're both back. But would you prefer us bring back a guy like Barber and keep the Rojo Barber thing going, or let Barber go and have Rojo as our number one and either draft a new running back or get another? You know, I don't know. Why would you bring in a veteran when you already have Barber right here, unless you just get an upgrade at it
for depth?
Yeah.
Upgrade the Barber position.
Yeah.
And that's what I would do, because Perryman has something that not all players have, and that's that world-class speed. Yeah. You know, and now we see he's coming around and he's running better routes, and Jameis is finding him. We're all happy. Barber's actually regressed from what he played like last year. And what we see from Peyton Barber is all you're ever going to get from Peyton Barber, which is like, what, 3.2 yards a carry. So if you made, I like Barber. You know, do I want? And I think both guys are in the same position we talked about. If they're back next year, oh, cool. If they're not, okay.
Yeah. You know, yeah, that's a great way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah, but if you're making me pick between the two, it's Perryman all day, because you know, again, ranking the positions of guys you can find everywhere, it's wide receiver, linebacker, running back, and Barber's like the worst of starting running backs. He just is. And you could blame the line, you could blame whoever you want. You know, he's a nice guy, bet on himself, looks like he's gonna be fine in life, but what Barber
still does better than just about anybody is he doesn't get you negative. He doesn't get you negative yards
ever.
He will either drop at the line of scrimmage, or he'll go a yard past it and then fall forward and get, but he's not going to break off that big run either.
No,
he's just
he's not going to make very many people miss.
No, but if you're on the 1 yard line and you need to punch it through, it's not a bad option to go to.
You better go 4 wide.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Jeez. Oh dear.
We tried that against the Seahawks
but we had a play where we were at like 3rd and 1 and we did that. Like we went 4. I mean, it wasn't a touchdown. It was just for downs. Like, but we were 3rd and 1 and we went like 4 or 5 wide. And I went, what in the world? Like, geez. I honestly, on that particular play, halfway expected like a quarterback sneak when I saw.
You know why they did that?
Tell me, Ren.
Can you lose the snark, Brent?
Well, I don't know. Are you getting ready to give me a snarky answer?
I was. It's because Barber can't gain a yard when it's a goal line and goal. And that's not true. Like, Rojo, Dare, and Barber have all scored against goal line fronts this year. You know, like around the 5 yard line and in. Like, they have. So, but it feels, which, you know what happens when you feel? It means you're wrong. It feels like that when they're in the middle of the field and they need to pick up a 3rd and 1 or a 4th and 1, that taking Barber and slamming him up the middle has not worked all year long. just feels that way.
All right. Johnny goes on, finishes up his email here. He says, I wanted to highlight the passing interference call that Dean had against the Colts last week, too. Admittedly, he shouldn't have been beaten so badly in the first place, but I thought that for a rookie, bringing down that receiver was an incredibly heads-up play. Not long after, the defense was able to get a fumble out of the Colts, so his penalty directly saved the team from being down another 6 or 7 points. It took Jameis a very long time to learn that it's better to live and fight another down, and for Dean to have that sort of wherewithal as a rookie is only another sign of the growth we've seen in this defense. How do you like that for a glamorizing 55-yard penalty?
I get it. I mean, he's lucky that Davis, accidentally, everyone's like, he punched the ball out. I think it was a total accident. Mm-hmm. but his hand touched the ball and it fell out. And then, Jameis, of course, turned it over right away, and then the Colts got it. But hey, they missed a field goal. So if you follow that train, it's like it all started because of a 55-yard penalty. Good job, Jamel Dean. Mm-hmm. He just panicked. That's all he did. The guy was by him. He didn't know where the ball was, and so he just tackled the guy. He just panicked, and he's not going to do that, hopefully, as he gets more experience, because he has the speed to keep up with most anybody, and especially, Anthony Johnson. Like, he had the speed to recoup that, and he just panicked. So, but I understand, Johnny, I do understand the thinking, like, if you're going to give up a touchdown, tackle the guy. And, anything can happen, because it did. And we've been white punched the ball, and we got the ball. So, of course, it all worked out in the end, but I would rather not have Dean just, I don't know where the ball is, and then, just start spraying into the crowd. Like, where are the shots coming from? I don't know.
All right, we got just 2 more, and I think we could probably get through these fairly quickly, and I will remind us of our moratorium on contract talk. This one comes into us from our friend Brian in Memphis, but you can't guess what this one's going to be about, Ren.
Brian, notorious. I don't want to be the Jameis Winston hater. He just would rather see the Buccaneers move on.
Yeah. And he makes no change here on that. He says, this is a game we begged the Colts to beat us. Really? Luckily, they weren't able to pull it off. Oh, I get what he's saying. Jameis's turnovers have now resulted in 61 opponents' points, 48 off interceptions, 13 off lost fumbles. This is vintage FSU Jameis, and where he will dig the team into a hole and make this miraculous comeback to win. His inconsistency won't win against a playoff caliber team, which is what matters most. Replace the Colts with any team that is playoff bound, and we lose. Jameis has this franchise by the balls. It's proving that no matter what, he will find a way to turn the ball over, yet he is still our best chance to get us out of the mess he creates. You know what this reminds me of? I was recently discussing the movie Star Trek 4 with someone.
Okay. I don't know why you keep it a secret with someone.
No, I was recently discussing this movie, and it's a save the whales. That literally is what the plot of the movie is go save the whales. If you haven't seen it, it's like the most accessible non-Star Trek fan movie you can go see, and it's kind of funny. But it's about just go save the whales, and it's this bad human movie. Like, oh, humans are bad humans. The number one enemy of humpback whales is mankind. Bad people. But what they fail to talk about is who else is the number one friend of humpback whales? It's also mankind. You know who's going to save the humpback whales? It's also mankind. Like
Jameis Winston.
Right. And that reminds me of what he's saying here. Like, Jameis Winston, maybe, bad Jameis Winston, but he's also our best hope for winning in the future is kind of what Brian is saying here.
That's what everyone's saying.
Yeah.
It is. It's right. Like, and I think everyone's sort of coming, except for Brian, of course. Hey, Brian, what's up? Is that, he's so talented, and he can play the quarterback position so well that he can win you a lot of games. Mm-hmm. There are very few quarterbacks in the NFL that you can pin the whole game on and say, you have to win this all by yourself. Go and do it. And we joked about earlier about 107 times he's put the team in the lead and handed over the defense, they've lost it. There's been a lot of that. Or also you got to sort of take into account where Jameis gets him and wins like 2 or 3. Mm-hmm. He doesn't get him the lead, but then the defense comes out and lets them score, and now you're back down to where you were again. Back down to like 9 or 11 or whatever it is. So yeah, and that's what it is. But now everyone's just like, okay, well, as long as he could take his Carolina games and make those once a year or once every 2 years, and then I get an Indianapolis game once a year or once every 2 years. Mm-hmm. So that's 4 games every 2 years where it's like I want to punch him in the face because you're the reason we're losing or did lose. Mm-hmm. But if he can, show you what he shows, after the first 2 possessions of the Colts game, then he's a top 5 quarterback.
Haven't we, like, over the last bunch of games, Jameis has, like, gone out and thrown an interception in the first, like, 2 series and then still brought us back to win?
I think he's thrown an interception on his first pass 4 times this year.
Yeah, that's crazy.
First pass.
Which makes you wonder what other teams are seeing in film. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, if they're able to study up and catch that on the first one.
I'm starting to get what Craig in Vegas was saying when he called us Instacast. Because when he said it at first, I'm like, what are you talking about?
What did he say? For people who didn't hear that show, or for me who just doesn't remember what
he was talking about how, like, the first 15 plays are scripted. Is Byron Leftwich with calling sort of like the same, pass plays that they really like early all the time. Are other teams picking up on that, and that's sort of feeding into Jameis throwing picks early.
Right. Then once they get past the script, there you go. Yeah.
Right.
I hadn't. I was probably looking at something else, of maybe doing something in chat. I didn't remember hearing that from Craig, but I'm glad you did, and you brought that up because there's a question.
That's the new theory going around.
Yeah, that's a question to have somebody ask in a press conference. Anyway, Brian finishes up, Ren, and this one is more directed towards you.
Yes.
Whatever Ren is smoking needs to stop immediately. Don't ever compare Jameis to Tom Brady or Drew Brees. The difference is that Brady and Brees have the ability to make everyone around them better. Jameis needs everyone else around him to be good. That's the difference in franchise quarterbacks and us forcing and still hoping for Jameis to be the franchise quarterback that he was drafted to be. If you think Jameis needs a team around him to be better, then go look at the team he had in FSU when he was still second in the FBS in turnovers. I get it. We don't have another option worth replacing him, especially with BA and the staff returning next season. It's common sense to stay the course with everyone with hopes of improvement. Nevertheless, I will take the win and kiss hopes of drafting a stud rookie quarterback in the draft. Goodbye. Keep stacking them however they come. Go Bucks.
Well, here's my rebuttal to that. I started to talk about that tweet, but Brent stopped me. Basically what I said, like right now, the way Jameis Winston is playing, there's about 5 quarterbacks I would take above him. Lamar Jackson, and that's really close, but I think it's more the style of the offense the team is playing, and it fits him perfectly. I don't know if he's a better traditional quote unquote quarterback. That doesn't matter because he's a quarterback and they're winning games. They might be the best team in the NFL. So Lamar Jackson, Aaron Rodgers, Deshaun Watson, who will be playing in a couple weeks, and who else did I have? It was a young guy too.
Did you say like Patrick Mahomes or Sam Darnold?
Mahomes.
Yeah.
It was Mahomes. Okay, sorry, Mahomes, and that's it. Like those are the guys I would take. Now, who's a better quarterback overall as far as like their resume? Is Jameis better than Tom Brady? No. Is Jameis better than Drew Brees? No. But I'll tell you what you said in that email about having they make players better around them, they don't do that anymore. When Tom Brady just was on TV and lost that game 2 weeks ago, not this week where they lost, but last week where they lost, he was on the receiver's crap saying, you got to win. Like, you got to win. You got to get open. I can't make this let's translate that. I can't make that contested throw one-on-one. You got to win your one-on-one.
Right.
You think Jameis can make a throw if Mike Evans is one-on-one or Godwin's one-on-one or Perryman's one-on-one? You saw it. You saw that throw in the end zone to Perryman. That throw to Perryman was just as good as everyone freaked out about that Russell Wilson made on Monday night in the Seattle game, where it looked like no one was open and he threw it and the guy jumped up, made a great catch and dragged his toes in the corner. Like, that was the only place that ball could be. That Jameis throw, though not quote unquote as difficult, he put it in the exact spot. It was a beautiful, beautiful throw. You know who can't make that throw anymore? Drew Brees. You know what he has to do? He has to drop back and throw a lollipop to the back pylon way early, and Perryman's going to have to fake the inside, go to the outside, and look over his shoulder and get it. He can't throw that. You know who also can't throw that anymore? Tom Brady can't throw that pass anymore. And you know why Tom Brady's all pissed off? Because he can't. He's not good enough anymore. He doesn't have the arm strength anymore. He doesn't have it anymore to be able to throw these guys open unless he has one of the best receivers. Right. Now, I understand Jameis has it. I understand Jameis has 2 now. Well, but who's throwing him the ball? It's like, well, Cam Brate's a great tight end. Well, who's throwing him the ball? Like, look at Perryman having his best year ever. Well, who's throwing him the ball?
Right.
It's Justin Watson. Look at that guy. Where'd he come from? Who's throwing him the ball? Somebody's throwing the ball so they can catch it. And I had this whole argument about Drew Brees and a 17-yard out and all that. Now, it's really close about if I would take Jameis over Brees and Brady. But going forward, starting today, I would rather take Jameis going forward for future of my football team besides those 5 guys. And that includes Brees, Brady, Rivers, Mahomes, Darnold, Mayfield, anybody else besides those 5. I'm taking Jameis.
Here's where I think that argument really begins to make sense is when you start looking at it in terms of 5 and 6 years.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Or 2 years.
Right. Because if you're looking at it in terms of just 1 year, maybe you look at a Brady, maybe you look at a Brees. But when you look at the continued success of the franchise going forward, look, Tom Brady is going to be out of football in a couple of years. And so many people just went, thank God. But he is. All right. Drew Brees is probably going to be out of football.
He throws Edelman across the middle and he checks down to White. Yeah. That's all he does.
Right. Drew Brees is probably going to be out of football, in the not too far future. Phillip Rivers, if he's not out of Phillip Rivers
is going to play till he's like 80.
Yeah, but he also strikes me as a guy who's going to turn into like a Joe Flacco. Like he'll bounce around from team to team that need he won't be a Ryan Fitzpatrick, but it'll be like a Joe Flacco. Like he'll bounce around to teams that need a veteran quarterback until they get to somebody.
As long as he can stay on the West, I don't know. He just might hang him up. He's got like 19 kids. He still lives in San Diego. He drives to LA or wherever they practice.
Yeah, and you might be true. You might be right about that.
But I understand what you're saying.
The real point. I mean, it's an interesting point because I think if quite honestly, Ren, if you say, "Wow, I'll take Jameis Winston over Tom Brady or Drew Brees," everybody's going to look at you with you got 3 eyes. Like, what are you talking about? But really, when you look at it in terms of long term, sustainability over the franchise,
2020 and beyond.
Yeah, those guys are on the back end, and not just the back end. Like they're in the denouement of their careers. They just are. So I kind of get what you're saying. I don't know that I'm ready to put that out there yet for me personally, but I'll let you have that thought. And you make a good point. I will say this about Brian's email, and I do agree with him at least on this. It is common sense to stay the course, I think, with everyone because of the improvements we've seen. It just makes sense to me. Now I have gone on record saying that I feel like we should tag the guy and give him another year because I want to see what he can do with more games, and I think he's gonna be great. I really do. But he just says this. He's like, look, I'll take the win, keep stacking them however they come, and regardless of what. And here's this for a take. Regardless of how we get to the win, wouldn't we just all want to win? Yeah. Like whether your guy got the win or didn't get the win, don't you just want the win? And I'll take it however they come. However we get there, I'll take it. So anyway. All right. Final email we have come in from the night. This one comes to us from Twill Trousers. Very interesting. It sends us a picture of comparing player A with a bunch of numbers with player B with a bunch of numbers. And they're mostly the similar. And it says this. Player A is Jay Cutler while player B is Jameis Winston. A lot of people chose A because there's 8 more wins and 6 less fumbles.
What? Did you hear that?
Yeah, very much so.
Look at all grumpy face with me.
I'm not grumpy face. I'm just...
I can see your face.
All right, he's got a player A and a player B here. Player A has 61.6 completion. Player B has 61.5. Player A has 16, 20, 76 yards. Player B has 18, 743 yards. So about 2,500 more passes. Player B has 8 more passing touchdowns. Player B has 5 more rushing touchdowns. Player B has 1 more interception, has 6 more fumbles, has 6 better points. It's player B has better things. Player A is Jay Cutler, which is an interesting comparison. Player B is, can you guess? Jameis Winston.
Yeah, that's not a great comparison. So what?
Well, here's what he says. A lot of people choose A because of the 8 more wins and 6 less fumbles. But here's why. Here are a few of my takeaways. Jameis with Jameis's stats, we could still have a better, could have been a borderline playoff team throughout Jameis's career if we had Jay's Denver O-line and the run game that he had in both stops. Even though he has 6 more,
or defense.
That's what I say. Even though he has 6 more fumbles, give me the guys with 8 more passing touchdowns and double the rushing touchdowns to have a higher impact on the game with his QBR being higher.
Oh, geez. Who wrote this?
Twill Trousers.
Twill Trousers. I think it's the first time you've written an email, and thank you so much, but I don't care.
Yeah. Actually,
I don't care. You're putting we sort of made this, what did you call it? What was it fancy word?
It's a moratorium. I'm cutting this whole email out, by the way. I'm stopping it right now.
Okay, well, that's what I'm doing too.
Yeah.
So
No, I mean, like, I'm not even going to I'm going to edit it out and cut it out.
You're not even going to say hi to him? Maybe we should say hi to Tweel at the end.
I can say hi to him. Yeah.
Yeah. Because this is new email.
Sure.
Okay,
I'll do that. All right. All right. 1740. All right. We had one more email come into us from, actually it came on Twitter from Twill Trousers. And Twill, I just want to acknowledge that you wrote us something, but I'm looking at it here and he has like all these charts and graphs comparing stuff. It's just really hard to read that as an email. So Twill, I will respond to you personally on Twitter. And I just wanted to acknowledge that you sent this to me, but I'm not going to read it on because it's not going to make good conversation for how we're trying to talk with everything that you're trying.
Are you just going to yell a bunch of numbers at me?
If I were to try, yes, and then everybody would turn us off. So, Twill, thank you for that. Like I said, I'll get back to you, but thank you for that. So anyway, Ren, that's going to do it for us, man. That's all of our emails for the week.
Yeah, a nice bounce back.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
From last week.
There you go. Yeah, last week where we had one, I think.
And we made that one up.
Right. Oh. So anyway, listen, guys, this is the show that it always really is about you. It's kind of the second instant cast. Only you guys get to think about it a little bit more. If you guys want to get in touch with us, if you guys want to be on one of these shows future, send us in emails to thepewtercast@gmail.com. We'll take those emails all week. We will read them on a future episode of the Pewtercast. Ren, why don't you tell the folks where they can get in touch with you on the internet?
Best place to find me is on Twitter at Rendax, REN_DAXT. I'm always down to talk Buccaneers football, but if you don't want to put your opinion out there on the Twitter sphere or put somebody else on blast, you are more than welcome to slide into my DMs, and we can talk Buccaneers football there as well, too.
And if you guys want to get in touch with me, you can find me at Brent Allen Live across all the social medias, and the show is at the Pewtercast on Twitter and on Facebook. And you can send us an email, like I just said, to thepewtercast@gmail.com. Well, Ren, coming up next, we have our Buck in the News show coming out later this week, so you guys want to make sure you check out that. We'll go over all the news bits and everything that has come out about our beloved Buccaneers. And then we'll be back on Sunday night with the Instant Cast, so you guys be on the lookout for that. It's always a good time. Our Instant Cast this past week, Ren, was off the charts. It was off the hook. High water mark, I think, for the Instant Cast. So
as far as like people and downloads,
it's when the Buccaneers lose, they're as good as our show has been doing. When the Buccaneers lose several weeks in a row, as with anything, there is a little bit of a dip. But after this past week, we were right back up, and I think we actually, I think we might have set our live feed record, possibly.
Like as many for people in the chat room.
Yeah, for people in the chat room that joined us live.
I think so too.
Yeah,
I think
so.
So let's try to double that and hit 22 next week.
Oh, that is not the number. Anyway, add a 0, and then we'll be there. All right, anyway, hey, listen, you guys are awesome, so join us. My whole point in saying that is join us. The Instant Cast is always a great time. We go live 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time after the games, youtube.com/thepewtercast. Guys, go over there, subscribe right now, click the little bell icon. You'll be notified as soon as we go live. Ren, with that, that's going to do it for us, buddy, so we'll close the show out. As always, go Bucks.